Being in the Guinness Book of World Records is sought after by many. Different people hold different titles for all kinds of things, from being the tallest man or woman to athletic records. But how would you like to be in there for being a murderer? Elizabeth Bathory, the Hungarian countess, is known in the book as being one of the most prolific serial killers. Some of you may know her as the Blood Countess. She received the name from claims that have been made against her. There are 3 things that are important to know about Elizabeth Bathory: the story of her childhood into adulthood, the claims of the crimes she committed, and how some historians today believe that there might have been some political betrayal that produced the claims. This is Elizabeth Bathory, and her story of childhood into adulthood is quite interesting. She was born in 1560, and Richard Cavendish, author of Death of Countess Elizabeth Bathory, wrote on the History Today article in 2014 that Bathory had been born into a family of wealth and stellar social position. Cavendish also wrote that Bathory had the looks, wealth, and an excellent education. The Bathory family ruled Transylvania as a virtually independent principality within the Kingdom of Hungary. When she was 11 or 12, Elizabeth was betrothed to Ferenc Nádasdy of another aristocratic Hungarian family, which means engaged, but a year or 2 later had a baby by a lower order lover. Nádasdy reportedly had him killed by dogs. The child was hidden, and Elizabeth and Ferenc married in 1575 when Elizabeth was just 14. She socially outranked her husband, so they both kept Bathory as their last name. The couple lived in the Nádasdy castle, which was a gift to Elizabeth from Ferenc in Hungary. Ferenc was a soldier and often gone, which left Elizabeth to run the estate by herself. She often took various lovers and bore 4 children. Ferenc died in 1604 when Elizabeth was just 43. Her husband's death marks the beginning of the claims of Elizabeth's behaviors. The stories of the crimes she committed were quite sadistic. Once Ferenc died, rumors began flowing. Previous accounts of murdered peasant women had been ignored, states Richard Poulardi, author of Elizabeth Bathory and the online version of the Britannica Encyclopedia in 2015. Poulardi goes on to say that the claims made in 1609 were that she had slain women from noble families. These women were reportedly sent to Bathory to be taught good manners. The accounts of what Bathory did were horrible. Rumors are that she believed that drinking the blood of these young girls would preserve her youthfulness. Witnesses told of her stabbing victims or biting various body parts. Witnesses also describe of her cutting them with scissors and sticking needles in their lips. Some were burned or beaten to death, and others were starved. The story of Elizabeth bathing in blood, however, was not added until later on. Elizabeth was then investigated. Her cousin, the Count Palatine of Hungary, was ordered by King Matthias to do the investigation. The Count determined that Bathory had killed and tortured more than 600 girls. Bathory and her servants were arrested in December of 1609, and 3 of her servants were put on trial and executed. Bathory never went to trial. Instead, she was put in the Castle Kashtish, which is pictured here, where she died in August 1614. However, there seems to be other motivations behind the investigation and claims. April Holloway wrote an article for AncientOrigins.net titled Elizabeth Bathory, 16th Century Deranged Serial Killer or Victim of Betrayal in 2014. In this article, she states that some historians have found evidence of political betrayal. One of these historians, Laszlo Nagy, has stated that accusations made against Bathory were all part of a plan by her cousin Count Palatine. Holloway writes that these historians believe her cousin wanted to imprison a bothersome political rival. As soon as her cousin became Count Palatine, he began the investigation. Her cousin had been assisting King Matthias in his efforts to extend his control over powerful Hungarian nobles, which included Bathory. There is also evidence that the king and her cousin were after her wealth. Bathory ran the estate alone, and the king reportedly owed substantial amounts of money to the countess. It is impossible to know the truth behind Bathory's stories, as there are no records because she was never sent to trial, and witnesses were reportedly tortured until they made statements. I have told you about her childhood, the claims made against her, and the possibility of false claims for political control. Elizabeth has and will continue to be known as the Blood Countess, and you will have to determine which story you believe.